The storm on Darcy's. 9 rolled across the horizon like a living bruise, purple lightning flashing through clouds as thick as stone. I had seen 100 off-world storms in my time as a xenobiology researcher, but nothing like this. The atmosphere itself seemed alive, charged, listening, waiting. I should have turned back. But curiosity had always been my downfall, and I wasn't about to let a little electric chaos stop me from studying the ancient ruins that had recently emerged from beneath the planet's shifting sands. My shuttle rested behind me, half buried already by the restless wind, but the monolith ahead, tall as a cathedral and carved with spiraling glyphs, pulled at me like gravity. As I approached, the symbols on its surface glowed faintly. This wasn't recorded in any of our data logs. That was when the sand behind me erupted. Something huge slammed into the ground, shaking the earth beneath my boots. I spun around just in time to see him rise. A towering alien clad in armor made from overlapping crystalline scales that shimmered like molten silver. He was easily 8 feet tall, shaped roughly like a man but broader, more angular. His 4 eyes burned with a fierce, predatory violet. And he held a blade, if you could call a nearly 2-meter curved shard of glowing plasma a blade, aimed directly at my chest. Froze. He snarled something in a language I didn't understand. It reverberated through the air like thunder. The meanings of alien words often escaped me, but body language was universal. He intended to kill me. I stepped back, hands raised. Easy. I'm just here to study the ruins. I don't want any trouble. He lunged. Instinct moved me more than thought. I dodged left, barely avoiding the scorching sweep of his weapon. The heat grazed my sleeve. Fabric vaporized instantly, and adrenaline shot through me like electricity. He came again, impossibly fast. I reacted without conscious decision, pivoting on my heel, letting his momentum carry him forward. It was a movement from a self-defense class I'd taken years ago. More reflex than skill. But to him, must have looked like mastery. He stumbled past me, caught off balance, and sank to one knee in the sand. His blade plunged into the ground beside him, hissing. When he lifted his head and met my eyes, something changed in his expression. Awe, bewilderment, reverence. Then, in perfectly comprehensible galactic standard, he spoke. "Teacher," he rasped, bowing so low his forehead nearly touched the sand. "You move with the path. Show me." And blinked. "What?" He remained kneeling, head bowed. "Warrior of hidden skill. Beg you, teach me." His name was Karzek, and once he realized I wasn't the legendary swordmaster he imagined, it was too late to convince him otherwise. He refused to rise when I insisted I wasn't a fighter. He refused to leave when I attempted to get back to my shuttle. And he absolutely refused to stop calling me teacher. It wasn't until a second storm cell formed overhead, lightning lashing mere meters from us, that I relented. "Fine," I said, grabbing his arm and pulling him toward the shelter of the monolith's interior. "We can talk inside before we both get vaporized." The inside of the ruins hummed with ancient power. Walls lined with bioluminescent script pulsed gently, as though reacting to our presence. Karzek stared at me with expectation, his posture rigid, his hands poised on his weapon. "Why do you think I'm a teacher?" he asked. He touched his chest. "My people, the Vokari, follow the path of motion. True mastery is not brute strength, but effortless instinct. You moved without fear, without thought. That is enlightenment. I moved because I didn't want to die." He looked even more impressed. "Instinct stronger than fear. Rare." He sighed. "You're misunderstanding. Humans aren't enlightened warriors. I'm a scientist. But he shook his head. The ruins called me here. The storms pushed us together. And you, human, you defeated me with a single step. This is destiny. Destiny. Wonderful. Still, something in his tone was desperate. Not blind devotion, something deeper. Need. Longing. You want to learn, I said carefully. Because? He stiffened. Because I failed my clan. I sought power in rage. And the path abandoned me. If I cannot regain my honor, I will be cast out. Or worse. So that was it. Shame. Fear. A desire for redemption. I exhaled slowly. Fine. I'll teach you what I can. But I'm not a warrior. What I teach won't be what you expect. Karzek bowed again. Anything, teacher. We trained in the echoing chamber of the monolith. Not in combat techniques, I didn't know any, but in something far more basic. Awareness, patience, observation. I taught him human methods of focusing under pressure. Breath control, grounding, reading an opponent's posture. Things anyone could learn. And to my surprise, he learned fast. Very fast. He absorbed every lesson like water into desert soil. His movements growing calmer, more fluid. The more he practiced, the less he snarled or bristled. He began to listen, to watch, feel. During breaks he asked questions not about fighting but about humanity, about stars we'd seen, about art, about curiosity. It was as if teaching him to slow down opened a part of him long closed. One night, as the storm quieted outside, he asked, "Teacher, do you believe the path truly calls to some and abandons others?" I studied the glowing patterns on the wall. I think paths don't abandon people. People lose sight of them. And sometimes, a stranger gives you a lantern so you can find the way again. He absorbed this silently. The ground trembled. I looked at him. "Was that you?" "No," he said, eyes widening. "The monolith awakens." The spiraling glyphs brightened, filling the chamber with brilliant blue light. The air thrummed. Then the ancient structure spoke, not in words, but in a resonant mental tone that vibrated through my skull. Test. Judgment. The floor cracked, splitting into a wide chasm that yawned beneath us. Karzek reacted instantly, grabbing my arm and leaping back just as the stone collapsed where I had stood moments before. Shards of debris rained down into an endless abyss. I stared at the chasm, heart pounding. That would have killed me. He gently set me down. "You moved instinctively, teacher. Just as I did." "No," I said, breath shaking. "You saved me." He bowed his head. "You saved me first." The monolith's glow dimmed, settling into a calm pulse, as if satisfied. By dawn the storm had passed. My shuttle, though battered, remained intact. Karzek stood beside it, blade sheathed, posture softer than when we had met. "I must return to my clan," he said, "and walk the path anew." He nodded. "I think you're ready." He stared at me for a long moment, then knelt one final time, this time not in desperation but in gratitude. "I will carry your teachings," he said, "not of combat, but of patience, clarity, balance. You gave me more than skill. You gave me myself." I felt a warmth in my chest. "And you taught me something too." He tilted his head. "That even the fiercest warrior can learn to move with gentleness." A flicker of pride crossed his eyes. Then he rose, tapped his fist to his chest, and strode into the shimmering morning. I watched until he vanished into the dunes, an alien warrior reborn not through battle, but through understanding. And as I boarded my shuttle, I whispered the final lesson I hoped he'd carry with him. Sometimes the path you're meant to follow begins with a single, instinctive step.